Fredo Esparza, Vandal Drummond here. How you doing tonight, Fredo?
I'm doing good. I just finished watching John's strongman matches.
Oh, and how is our strongman looking?
Well, I only got through 4 of them. I kind of gave up afterwards because I'm writing about it. I kind of got tired. It's like, okay, that's... But I swear, if you read what I wrote about it, you just like get a bottle of tequila, and every third word is strongman. So you'll probably get drunk by the time you're done reading it.
So it's the quintessential strongman drinking game, where you get drunk before he blows up. That would be the challenge. Well,
I only got through 4 matches. I was kind of tired afterwards. I was like, okay, I think I'll do the rest.
That's pretty good. I mean, I think a lot of people would tap out after 4 matches.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, they weren't bad because he's actually not that, like, I mean, there's a lot of crappier big guys in wrestling, whereas strongman, he's not really that, he's not the worst guy. He's not grown to.
Yeah, this is true. This is very true.
He's agile. He does enough where it's like, okay, the other guy can carry him through a 5-minute match.
Now, in typical VD fashion, I have last week's Ross De Lona DVR'd. I have last week's CMLL from the local TV station here in L.A. DVR'd. Is he present in any of those?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well.
He might be in Ross De Lona because they do a lot of interviews.
Yes, very cool.
I skimmed through those right away. So
yeah. Speaking of which, I really do have to get the strongman haiku going again. When I was on Kid Zombie's show last night, I had mentioned to him that I think I dropped my muse and it rolled under the cupboard or the rug or the kitchen chair or something. I got to go find it again. I got to start slapping some stuff on StanTheEmbryo.com again.
You kind of got lazy lately. You haven't even been on.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And, it's like, writing for me is kind of like a sort of like, mental floss. It kind of just, gets all the stuff jamming up in my brain to spill out, all across the computer and through the Internet. I think it's true with a lot of people, actually.
Yeah. You need somebody like Mystico who can, like, motivate you to do stuff.
Mystico.
Have you read what's going on with him?
Yes, I have, and I think that's a great thing you kept on. If he pisses off enough people, he might not be welcome some places, and he could go on the motivational speaker circuit.
Yeah,
isn't that what Sean Stasiak did when, he kind of fell out of everybody's good graces in wrestling? He went around being a motivational speaker, telling what a great success he was at whatever.
Yeah, I just think it's so funny. Because wasn't he recording people's...
yes, he was secretly... he had a tape recorder in the locker room secretly recording people's conversations.
Remember that commercial with Mean Gene Okerlund on the WCW hotline? Would that be funny if they did that with Mystico?
Oh, that would be great.
Behind the scenes, him recording everybody's discussions and all the talks and all that. It's just weird. It's not that big a deal because every like superstar does that, complains about the promotion at some point during their career. So
yeah, and I suppose when you're somebody like Mystico, you feel you have a little breathing room and can have the luxury of getting out there and slamming the promotion because they're not going to drop you right away. Where if it was somebody like
somebody in the mid card.
Yeah, somebody like Metro or one of those really cool guys, they'd be out of there,
Well, Metro, they just get rid of him and put the outfit on somebody else.
That would be the way to go. I mean, that's sponsorship,
Yeah, they've already got 3 guys who've done it. And actually, they've improved every other guy. Because the first guy was really crappy. The second guy was kind of crappy.
I just dig the outfit so much.
Yeah, this guy right now is pretty good, though. He's not that bad.
Well, before we get too deep into the show, I would like to mention the benefit show on October 8th in Ontario, California, for local wrestler named Vision, who has had to endure several surgeries for a macular degenerative disease that tore his retina.
Oh, you got that wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, my enunciation skills. Let's just say I write much better than I speak. Yeah, there's a reason I am not a motivational speaker, is because I would stammer through half the words. I would be kind of like Jimmy Stewart without the charisma. But for anybody in the Southern California area, there is a show on Friday, October 8th at the Calvary Baptist Church on 730 North Mountain Avenue. And if you're not in the Southern California area, you can help Vision out. He has a PayPal account, and his PayPal account is Vision, that's spelled VIZZION 777 at yahoo.com. And want to give a salute to our friends at MPW. A lot of the folks who are putting together this show don't even know Vision personally, and they're still going out of their way to help him with the costs of procuring a prosthetic eye. The surgery's serious enough where he's going to have to lose one of his eyes. And
is there something wrong with his other eye?
You know, I am not certain. I think this is
it's the same eye, right?
Something he had since birth.
Yeah, but it's the same eye, right?
I believe it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, just want to applaud these guys for going out of their way to help out a wrestler that a lot of them aren't even familiar with. Just really an awesome thing they're doing. So, if anybody can,
he was actually pretty good too.
Was he? You see, I never got to see him in action.
Yeah, Superboy recommended him. Remember when we were doing the?
I don't remember that, really.
Yeah, he was one of the guys that Superboy recommended.
Wow.
Wow. He never did.
That's saying quite a bit, though. I mean, Superboy doesn't give a recommendation just at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, you know, the only thing Superboy kind of, if you want to run an indie promotion, you talk to Superboy and he scares you out of it.
It's true, because he tells you exactly what, he tells you in great detail what it takes to promote a show, what it takes to promote shows on a regular basis.
And you know, he gives you the low ball amount. So it's like, even that amount, you're like, if you're running a pro wrestling promotion, you know you're not gonna make any money.
Oh yeah, you gotta have a lust for it, a passion for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, as much as I love it, I was always very shy about starting anything up on my own.
Yeah, you like your bank account.
What's that?
You like your bank account.
Yeah, exactly. I like to have some money in my bank account. I hate seeing it drain too quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
We got some callers now, Curt. We got some callers now, Curt. Let's put them on before.
Okay, who's the caller?
Let me see.
Hello?
Hey, Larry.
It's Larry.
Larry, are you on?
Larry Park, how are you?
Good. I can't stay on too long, but I'll be on for a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, hey, thanks for mentioning the Vision show, and let's not forget we have a show this Saturday. That's
Yankee right. Doodles. Simi Valley at Yankee Doodles. In fact, Larry, why don't you give us the lowdown on that show?
Absolutely. Yeah, we got good matches going on. We got big. I'm trying to think. The Ballard Brothers versus Rising Sun and Disco Machine as part of our tag team tournament. Yeah, we also have Anchors Away, Southern California's most hated heroes. They'll be going up against the team of Under Pressure and the Hobo. We also have Brandon Parker, who you saw facing Ryan Taylor in the last show. He's a lot of people talked about Taylor, but a lot of people forgot about Parker, who is just as equally as talented and just as good, and just as talented as anybody on the SoCal scene. Brandon Parker, rather. He's going up against a newcomer, Chris Cadillac. And
very cool.
We have Logan X defending the Maximum title against Whiskey Fist McIntosh.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Whiskey Fist, McIntosh, and the Hobo. Those are my two favorite indie gimmicks going today.
Oh, yeah. And let's not forget Omar Slam Duncan, another one of my favorite gimmicks.
Another great gimmick.
He's going up against Jarek Matthews, who calls himself the straight edge suplex machine. He's kind of like Taz in a way, except he's a little bit quicker. Yeah, Jarek is actually very good. I like his ring work. And then Fanboy and Almighty Ray, they'll be going up against two of Tex Tunney's boys, Mario Banks and the Spectre. Oh, I shouldn't have said the Spectre. He doesn't like that. Spectre. And, yeah, we'll have a couple other matches. It's going to be a fun night, again. I'm looking forward to it. And Under Pressure and I will be making our return to live commentary. So
excellent. That's going to be cool.
Yes. I've always loved doing live commentary. Not a big fan of doing post-production, but it is what it is. I'm glad I'm doing it.
Post-production where you're pretending to be there.
Exactly. But, you know, I just wanted to get a couple things off my chest, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go right ahead.
I don't have a lot of time. Just, I've been, you know, this whole thing with Vision, you did mention that we have a benefit for him on October 8th. That is an MPW-sponsored show. We had a lot of obstacles, as some of you may know. We had a lot of obstacles in trying to get that. I will not mention this other person's name, but he tried to block it in every way possible, but we overcame it. And it's unfortunate.
Including this show in Ontario?
Yeah, that's
my Lord.
And that's what I'm. There's still some people in this scene that kind of hold to some more older school ideals than even my ideals. I mean, I hold old school ideals, but I'm just saying that it shouldn't have had come to that in the first place, and fortunately, the bad press that this person got, he's helping Vision as well, which he should. Vision was a loyal student of his.
Yeah.
But that's the end of that, and I don't think anybody talks about it anymore. Let's just try to help this man out, because one thing about professional wrestling, I've seen too many brothers and sisters go. I've seen too many brothers and sisters fall to mental illness and depression and whatnot. I think we as a wrestling community, fans, our workers, like you and I, we need to help our brothers out.
Definitely. I think this is an excellent opportunity to do so. And, you know, you mentioned mental illness, and, you know, if we were ever to do a benefit for mental illness, you know, that's usually almost like a punchline in some people's mind. But I think that's one of the overlooked, and it's not talked about a lot. A lot of people are shy about talking about it. And that's not just a concern in wrestling, but in a lot of
absolutely.
In a lot of everyday life. It always has been, but it's just getting now where they can talk about it. And I want to say I think it's really cool that you guys, you know, a lot of you guys are not that familiar with Vision, and that you're bending over, you know, you're really taking an interest in helping him out. That's a really cool thing that you're doing. And any of the other indie groups who are out there, you know, I know there's at least two other groups that are helping Vision out, and I just was it Mach 1 that was giving them a hand also recently?
I got to give credit to John Ian, the promoter and owner of Mach 1. He's a friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He stepped up to the plate with very little notice last week and started and invited Red, myself, and Omar to his show last Friday. He runs weekly shows in Anaheim, and he invited us to help collect funds, and we collected a pretty good amount of money for Vision, and the Mach 1 fans are very generous. I thank them very much, but most of all, I want to thank John Ian for allowing us that opportunity. And so he's forever made allies with MPW.
Very cool. Very cool. So, and if any of our SoCal fans out there, you know, like I said, his PayPal account, you know, where you can make donations to this guy if you cannot make any of these shows, it's Vision777. That's spelled VIZZION 777 at yahoo.com.
let me also mention real quick, there may be some changes to the card. Just stand by. You know, things happen in wrestling, everyone knows. But also, B.S. Cohen, your arch nemesis, rather, has a special announcement, a huge announcement this Saturday, so he tells me. I'm not sure
that's right. That's right. I've been hearing the buzz, and I'm very curious what he has to say.
Yeah, I've been hearing the buzz as well, but you know, rumors are rumors, and we'll find out this Saturday.
We're hoping it's not a Dixie Carter style amazing announcement.
Oh no.
Oh Lord!
I just wanted to compliment. I wanted to mention this a while ago, and I never did. And, I know a lot of people give Sheamus a hard time because I frankly don't think he's champion material either. But he actually wrestled a pretty good match with John Morris.
Yeah, I actually really I didn't see his match with Morrison. I actually really dig him. I think what I like is what a lot of the people who like him dig about him is he's a fresh face. He's unique. He's different. You know.
He is. He is absolutely. He is. At first, I didn't like him because I figured he was the typical 6'5", 300-pound monster. But he's starting to grow on me a little bit.
Yeah. I think he's picking up the ball. I think he's digging what he does. He has a passion for it. You know, and a lot of people know that he probably got the gig because he's Triple H's weightlifting buddy. But if he's got it, he's got. You know, that's just part of wrestling, and it always has been. A lot of it is being talented enough to get over, whether it's on the mic, in the ring, or if you can't do either, you have a manager do it for you. Or and part of it is being in the right place at the right time, or just knowing the right people.
Right. One real quick thought, and then I got to leave. Sorry.
Okay.
But, hey, I want to say congratulations to Chimera for getting a WWE.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yeah. His hard work paid off and proved
Yeah, he's been great so far.
That one's still rewarded.
And it's so cool that he's been hanging with the best thing to happen to WWE all year, in my opinion.
Oh, Alberto Del Rio. That's right.
He is so awesome.
He is. I agree. You made a funny comment. Is it okay if I make this comment?
Oh, you must. Yes, please.
No. Oh, it's funny what you said, and I was laughing when he told me, and I forgot about it. Curt mentioned that it's funny how Alberto Del Rio acts like his uncle in real life.
Yeah. I was wondering maybe he's doing the Stanislavski method acting where he says, "How do I feel?" Get into the character, and somebody must have said, "Just like act like your Uncle Mil Moscaris and how the way he does in real life."
Exactly.
And the rest is gold.
Exactly. Hey, good night, gentlemen. I'll next time you guys are on, I'll be on for a little bit longer. I just got some things to do tonight.
Okay, thank you for calling, Larry, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll see you Saturday. Take care.
Yeah, see you guys later.
All right.
That was Larry Park, one of the hepcats of MPW, Millennium Pro Wrestling.
We have another caller on the line, Curt.
We got another caller on the line. Yeah. We're ready to go.
I am here to save the Blog Talk audience.
Oh, thank God.
Because Curt Brown last night was on the Kid Zombie show for 2 hours and 15 minutes. The man is overexposed. And I think you should hang up the phone right now and let Fredo do the rest of the show.
The whole show by myself?
That's a good idea.
Well,
let's have Fredo do the Iron Man match that I did last night. although
it was a very good show, but boy, they say we talk over each other. Wow.
That was hysterical. I was having fun with that one. In fact, I don't know if you heard the whole show, Fredo, but I brought up your verb meltzering.
Yeah, and they were talking over that too.
Yes. I thought it was hysterical.
Yeah. Well, it
happens so much.
Half the time. That's why I don't talk half the time, because I want you guys to talk, you know?
It's wisdom on Fredo's part. It is wisdom.
So you're Fredoing it, then. Yeah. Like, I don't want to do that much over time. You're Fredoing.
The antonym of meltzering is Fredoing.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know if I've ever told Meltzer about the verb you came up with. It's classic. He doesn't do it as much as he used to on the Wrestling Observer Radio, but I wish he would.
It's
a great.
You know what his You know what his reaction to that would be, don't you? Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah, great.
It'd be a one-word reaction. Cool.
Well, see, I always remember that because when Herb Abrams' UWF did that character, Davey the Observer Meltzer, Dave called me and asked me for the results of the show, and I said, "Did you hear about a character they had there last night?" And he goes, "No." And I told him about Davey the Observer Meltzer and the pouring of the dirt sheet on him and whatever. And there was a pause, and Dave said, "Yeah, great." And that was not the entire extent of it. So.
Yes. Oh, too much. So how are you doing tonight, Dan?
I'm doing fine. Actually, it was a good show. I enjoyed the show last night. I listened, the parts of it I could hear, but it was actually I enjoyed the gentleman. I forget his name, and I feel bad about it. The promoter from Texas, which was a really good segment there.
I've never heard of the guy before, but he sounds like a class act.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed the Ballard Brothers interview also, especially the portion where they talked about how they weren't over with the internet. I thought was a very, very interesting a segment that doesn't get talked about all that often.
Yeah, that's something I wouldn't have thought of bringing it up really, but I mean they hit it. I like that.
So, but besides that, been doing fine. Looking forward to the show this weekend. As Larry just to hit. Now, Larry said that famous thing. He said, the card is always subject to change, which always makes me nervous to announce anything or to say anything. But I will say this: as far as I know, at this moment, which is Thursday night, according to and it's still there on the MPW website for the Vision Benefit Show on October 8th. The main event is Scorpio Sky and Todd Chandler against T.J. Perkins and Rocky Romero.
Ooh, that's going to be sweet.
Yeah, that's going to be a really good one. So, and then the show, I'm looking forward to the show this Saturday too, especially the continuation of the tag team tournament, which is going to be really good.
Yes, and as always, it's going to be great to see the Ballards again. When I saw them on the last show in Chatsworth, I had forgotten just what a great tag team these are. I mean, yeah. Great old tag team wrestling.
I think one of the reasons why sometimes some of the internet fans get on the guys, I think it's because of the fact that they are twins, and it automatically looks like a gimmick type. It looks like it's going to be a highly gimmick match, but they don't even really do the switch out anymore or whatever.
Which is a shame, because I forgot to ask them last night. They left before I could ask them if they're old enough to have seen the Twin Devils.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They have done it in the past. They don't need it all that often. You were talking about watching them. I remember seeing them a couple years ago at an AIWA show where they wrestled the Young Bucks, and it was a great match. They were perfectly matched opponents, and they even eventually brawled into the Porta-John, where one of the guys came out.
I remember that. Yes,
remember that? One of the guys came out with the
seat cover over their head
around his neck. Yeah,
that was hysterical. In fact, one of the things I dug about them, I remember a number of years ago seeing them on one of Rick Grayson's shows.
Yeah.
And they were wrestling the Cubanitos.
Yes.
And what was really cool was this was an old school match where it wasn't like this 5-star galore, but it was a great just face versus heel match, and they did some comedy in there. And I thought, this is so cool. Like these guys... this was like definitely a non-internet style crowd. This was like a high school fundraiser. So these were casual fans. They popped big for the comedy. They popped big for the high spots. And both the Cubanitos and the Ballards knew when to do them. They didn't do too much. And I dug that they did that because sometimes you'll see wrestlers who feel like unless they give a 200% match that it's not enough. And sometimes just getting the pop is enough.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
We have another caller.
Who's there?
Someone sitting in a hotel room in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh, no.
Oh, my Lord. Is there a hallway creepers there?
No, I think the hallway creeper is back on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he's the ghost.
Am I correct in this? Now, you're going on, let's identify this gentleman, Curt.
This is our
line?
special guest tonight who we have wanted to get on this show for quite some time. This is Broadway Danny Wolf, the man who tag teamed with Lance Russell in the late 80s, the guy who is the MC for Incredibly Strange Wrestling, the play-by-play man for most roller games and roller derby in California. Broadway Danny Wolf, we are so jazzed that you could make it.
Thank you, Curt, and thank you, Dan.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going fine. Now, you're in Greenwich to do Maury Povich's show tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I flew in from L.A. today, which was a very long, because the weather back east is horrible right now.
Yeah, that's
so we circled over New York for about 45 minutes until there was a place to land, and got driven to my hotel in Greenwich, and my TV is busted, so as I'm on the phone with you, I'm waiting for them to fix it. And then
so you can watch TV to relieve the boredom of talking with us, right?
No, it's crazy, these hotel really Hyatts. But anyways, I'm doing Maury tomorrow, which is now done in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh,
that, they used to be in New York City, and they moved a lot of shows like Wilco and Springer and Deal or No Deal, and Maury all came out to Stamford. It's all done in the same place, so I'm doing that tomorrow, and then flying right back to LA right after the taping.
Now, what is the show about? I mean, you mentioned something about were you and Wee Man from Jackass on the same flight?
Yes, Wee Man is actually on Maury with me tomorrow.
Oh, are you guys going to find out who's the father of the baby that you two have?
No, I'm his father. He looks like a baby.
I thought you said Gary Sparrow is the father.
No, he's fatherless. There's it's a crazy, outrageous clip special, and I'm going on one segment. That's it, for like 7 minutes to show videos from the show I'm doing with Paul Rodriguez on MTV, which is called Mis Videos Locos. So I'm going to be presenting some clips, and then Wee Man's on showing clips from Jackass 3, and then there's some other guests on, showing wild, outrageous videos. I think last time I came on, Dustin Diamond, Screech, was with me. He had clips to show.
Now, how many times have you been on with Maury now?
I've been on with Maury maybe 15 to 20 times, and South Jessica Raphael I probably did 20 times too, and Jenny Jones maybe 4 or 5.
I remember when you were most in the mainstream public eye was when you were producing the Fox Caught on Tape series in I believe it was the late 1990s, was it?
Yes, it was the late 90s, and it was all the Busted on the Job, and When Good Times Go Bad, and When Chefs Attack. So it's a great guest to go on a show like Maury or Sally, because I come on with all my crazy videos, and I can do the whole hour or a few segments and, show the audience, absurd clips, which I'll be doing tomorrow.
Have you ever had any of the people in the clips respond to you or write to you or run into any of them at all?
No, not really. Ironically, we blur faces, of course, we protect the guilty.
Right.
And so on the show I'm doing now with Paul Rodriguez on MTV, we have had some of the guests come do cameos that show up on the set. We've been trying to do more and more of that. So, we've been doing it now. The show I'm doing with Paul, it's all the greatest YouTube videos. It's all the greatest viral videos, and everything that's big on YouTube each week. Our show is like Tosh.0. It's very similar.
Right.
However, we digitally put Paul into a lot of the clips. He zaps himself in, like pop-up video, and then makes some kind of wise-ass remark, and then he pops back out.
Curt mentioned them. Of all the crappy TV shows that you've unleashed on television, which one is your favorite? Which one did you enjoy the most?
I like doing the original Busted on the Jobs for Fox. And those were just, again, clips of, chefs peeing in people's food and coworkers urinating in each other's coffee pots, because they were on Fox nationally prime time, and we were getting between 18 and 22 million viewers. And we were the only show to beat Seinfeld in sweeps.
Wow.
So those were probably the best shows to do because they just got a lot of attention and people liked them. Those were fun.
Now, I must say, I'm mildly surprised that one of our regular co-hosts, the guy that we call the Dixie Demon, I'm surprised he has not called in already, because he's this cat in New York who is actually quite an admirer of yours. He is the one who was really intrigued with your work with Lance Russell in the 1980s. And how did you hook up the commentating job along with Lance Russell, and how was it working with him?
Well, he was the nicest guy in the world. I left US when I got out of college at USC. I got a job at a cable network called FNN Score, which then became FNN Sports, which was sort of like an ESPN in its day. It was like, home shopping at night and financial news during the day and sports, in the evenings and weekends. And I
actually remember that very well. I actually miss that. I feel nostalgic for that whole feel.
It was an odd little network, but it had like Todd Donahoe's Time Out for Trivia, and it had wrestling on it, which it actually had Barry Richards' California, I think it was the California, whatever it was called.
Championship Wrestling, yes.
Yeah. And the guy who ran FNN was a huge, long-time wrestling fan, and I said, this wrestling you got on the network's horrible. If I can go get a better group that wants a national exposure, can we do like a barter deal, which you don't even hear about anymore? Basically, they give us the 1 hour a week, but then in return, we'll give them a couple of commercial spots, and they have to fly me to Memphis every Monday night to do like the FNN Score match of the week with Lance. We did the deal with Jerry Jarrett, and I started going to the Mid-South Coliseum every Monday night doing this one match a week and in an interview. And it was a great time then because you had Lawler and Curt Henning was in there, and Eddie Gilbert was in there, and Cactus Jack Manson, Foley was just starting. Jeff Jarrett was just starting. Raven, I think, was wrestling under Scotty Flamingo. He was just, all these guys were just starting there. And it was a great building, and they'd get, sold out crowds on Monday nights, and they would riot and burn trash cans, and it was awesome.
In fact, I was going to say, had you ever before seen a crowd as passionate as the Memphis crowd?
Oh, nothing's like it. Absolutely nothing. They are so into it, it's ridiculous. And we're talking Monday night, which is not the greatest night to do live shows of any kind.
Exactly.
And that place was always packed, and this was coming off the Andy Kaufman days there, which unfortunately I missed out on by not, I don't know, Dan can say, maybe know what year that was, but it wasn't that
1982, and I think it's the mid-80s.
It was way early, but
that was way early. I was thinking mid-80s, but I remember Lawler showing me Andy Kaufman's wrestling tights were still in the back of his Cadillac in the trunk.
Wow.
And Lawler still had them in there.
Danny, tell people, what was Lawler like to work with at that time? And also, because it was still fairly early in television and cable, did you run into any kind of kayfabe problems?
Not really. No, Lawler was the nicest guy in the world. Really smart, nice guy. I went to his house a few times. He had all these great jukeboxes and had these great cartoons and animation he'd drawn. Really helped me out a lot, helped me do interviews, and I got to interview him a few times. Just really a nice guy. And, it was called CWA. It was Championship Wrestling Association. And, they were big locally, but it was, again, here was a chance for them to get national exposure. And, in fact, it was doing so well on FNN, Eddie Gilbert and a couple of guys had started another federation called Continental Wrestling, which I think was centered in around Alabama. And we started doing their shows on FNN as well. And he didn't pass away much longer, I think, than after when that started.
Now, with CWA, the Continental shows that you did, they're always looked upon very fondly, and they still hold up to date to some extent if you see any of them around. When that thing went downhill, it went downhill quick.
Yeah.
Could you tell about some of the problems that you ran into with that group when you were working on it?
I didn't see a lot of the problems, to be honest with you. Guys were just sort of always kind of bolting out of there and kind of trying to get out of that league. Call it a league.
Well, actually, I'm referring more so with the management of CWA and tapes and things like that.
No, I remember, though, Jerry Jarrett coming to me once backstage, and he was trying to pitch me a fishing show.
Oh, Lord.
To air on FNN and to do this deal, and we never did it. And I always believe he got mad at me. because I never made it happen. And that could be one of the reasons why it went off. And then we also did a pay-per-view. We did a thing called Super Clash, which was an idea we put together back then, which was a pay-per-view we did in Chicago with a bunch of the federations that weren't NWA or WWF. So we had AWA, we had World Class, we had Continental, we had CWA, we had Glow, even. And we did a big pay-per-view, and they were great. I mean, they were great matches, and we had huge people on that show.
Are we talking the one where Lawler wrestled Kerry Von Erich?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that.
And then Iron Sheik and Slaughter, I think, they might have had a boot camp match or something, and God, we had all sorts of amazing combinations. The whole idea was to put matches together that no one had ever seen. Having someone from World Class wrestle someone from the AWA, and have, we were trying to mix up the talent.
Now, you're talking about kayfabe earlier. Didn't Hercules Hernandez kayfabe you at one point?
Yeah, he did. I used to, and Dan knows this, we used to go to the LA Sports Arena. It was a show once a month at least. And I used to drive a lot of the wrestlers, the WWF wrestlers, back and forth from the AmFac Hotel to the Sports Arena and then back, and we would hang out with them all night long. And I became kind of friends with Hercules Hernandez and a few of the other guys. And I remember being in a room one night, and this was at a time when I think a lot of the wrestlers were doing drugs. I was either naive or couldn't believe it or didn't know what to do. But he was in a room, and I think the Sheik, and there was a few other guys in the room, and Hercules Hernandez kept saying to me, "What is your name again?" and kept shaking my hand. And he kept shaking my hand, and I thought by the fourth time he shook my hand, why was he continuously shaking? And I would shake his hand normally and hard. And then finally he says, "You have to leave the room. You got to get out of here." And I'm like, okay. So I figured they just didn't want me to see them doing drugs. I had learned after that I wasn't supposed to squeeze his hand hard when I say hello.
Handshake.
It was the handshake, and if I would have just not grabbed hard or, I guess, squeezed his hand hard, they probably would have let me stay in the room. It was sort of that code they were, I think someone referred to it as a carnival code.
Yes. In fact, the first time I ever got that handshake was when I met Dr. Jerry Graham. I see this big 400-pound lumbering guy, and I shake his hand, and I'm saying, oh, my God, he has the most effeminate handshake I've ever felt. I did not know about the kayfabe handshake, I think until later that month, actually.
Damn, when did you learn about it? I never knew about it. No one ever told me.
I'm not quite sure. It's just one of those things that kind of, it may have been an offshoot of that. But it's always to the point it's interesting now, because now when I go into a dressing room, whenever I shake hands with somebody, I never know if, a lot of the younger guys don't know, about that. So I never know to shake. I usually just shake light on general, because of that.
Isn't that funny?
But that's one of those things that just was, that was one of the first things I think you start to learn whenever people start to break kayfabe around you is the handshake. The handshake is very, very important.
I was talking a little carny, which I could never do very well, very efficiently. I think in some circles, if you do the kayfabe handshake, people roll their eyes like, oh, this guy thinks he's really cool. He knows the kayfabe handshake. Ha ha,
Yeah. Fredo, did you say we have someone on the line?
Pardon me?
What happened again?
Fredo, did you say there's somebody on the line?
Yeah, there is somebody else on the line.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Vic.
Yeah, I think so too. We should let him get in here,
Yes. Vic,
Dixie Demon, how are you?
Good.
I was just remarking about 10 minutes ago that we were surprised you're not already on the line, because we have somebody we're very intrigued with. We have Broadway Danny Wolf with us.
Yeah, big hello to Danny Wolf.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling that good, so I was waiting a little to call in. But
well, we're glad you called in.
Yeah, I mean, I just want
to... Hello, Dixie Demon.
Yes. And I want to thank Danny belatedly for the tape that you loaned to Curt a couple of years ago.
Oh, yes, I still have that tote bag full of tapes that you lent me, Danny.
You still haven't given it to him, Curt? Come on, man.
What's that?
They're on VHS. That's how long it's been.
Yeah.
What can I say? I'm a hoarder. I'm a whore, and I'm a hoarder.
Those were good times back then. Those were some good matches.
Yeah. In fact, you mentioned, Danny, the Curt Hennig versus Jerry Lawler match.
Mm-hmm.
that was, that's one that stands the test of time.
I'll tell you a quick funny story about that. They used to play jokes on Hennig all the time. When he landed in Memphis that day, they had him thrown in jail as a joke.
Oh, no.
And they kept him in jail telling him he wouldn't be able to wrestle that night. And I think he stayed in some jail in Memphis for about 7 or 8 hours. And then they let him out, and Lawler had set up, and it was a big joke on him. And I remember it vividly of him telling me this whole story about how they threw him in jail. He was a very nice guy, really cool dude. And but him and Lawler, it's funny, all these guys that wrestled Lawler, they were all their idol. I mean, Lawler was everyone's idol. Eddie Gilbert told me a story once that when he was growing up, he had Lawler posters covered his bedroom.
Wow.
And the first time, and there was a match I called between him and Lawler. I think Gilbert might have done a fireball in Lawler's face and beat him, but I remember Gilbert telling me, like, this was the greatest thrill of his life. This was making his life. This was his dream come true, to just be in a match with Lawler. So a lot of wrestlers hold him to a very high, level, especially.
Danny, didn't you tell me one time that Gilbert wanted to watch a Lawler match, and because of kayfabe he couldn't come out, so he wound up going up into the rafters of the Mid-South to watch it?
I think he did that a lot.
Yeah.
He was a Lawler fanatic. I mean, I remember him telling me like it was yesterday that his whole bedroom was covered in posters, Jerry Lawler posters. And you're talking about Gilbert, who grew up, obviously with his dad Tommy and his brother Doug. I mean, it's been in his family since he was probably very little.
Gilbert was such an amazing talent. I mean,
yeah, he was. Somebody,
if you just saw a photo of him, you'd say, whatever. But I mean, he was just so great on the mic, so great in the ring. He just had it.
Oh, he was an amazing wrestling mind, though. I mean, if you ever listen, Bob Barnett has that great shoot that he did called "Looking for Mr. Gilbert," where basically Eddie Gilbert goes into. I think it's the only shoot that was ever done with him. But he basically goes into how he set up matches and what he did, and it's really it's one of those interviews where if you want to teach somebody, the principles of booking, it's a great shoot interview to watch.
I've never seen that.
Dix, we have Danny on the line, and I know in the emails we've exchanged, you've mentioned, Danny and his work with Lance Russell a lot. We're wondering, is there anything you'd like to chat with him about or ask the Broadway man?
Let's see. I don't know. I mean, I guess I wanted to ask about. I mean, how did Score? I mean, sort of. I mean, I heard you talking about a little bit, but I think there were maybe even a few more shows. I mean, so how did it just? Was it just that once Memphis came on, that other promotions started to want to be there? That it became this big outlet for the smaller promotions?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was, because all these smaller promotions only were seen in the South, and then all of a sudden you have this kind of budding ESPN, in quotes, if you will, national sports network that was getting a lot of attention, and you really didn't have to pay. I mean, these were straight barter deals. It was like, hey, Jared, if you fly me to Memphis and let me announce a match, just send us your tape each week. We'll give you, 2 30-second spots, and you'll be on. There was no exchange of money. There were no deals. I don't even think there were contracts. It was just a straight, hey, we want better wrestling. I mean, thank God the general manager of FNN Score was a huge wrestling fanatic. And basically just told me, and I was a big wrestling fan, hey, if you can get a better show on than California Championship Wrestling, we'll put it on.
Well, that's not very hard, though.
No, I mean, you can do that in your hallway right now. I mean, that show is, we don't have to talk about California Championship Wrestling, but it was really easy. And then when Gilbert was in Memphis, he had gone down, I think he was living, I actually believe Paul Heyman was living with him and Missy and somewhere in Alabama at that time. And then they started this group called Continental Wrestling, and then Gilbert's like, hey, can we go on your network too? And I'm like, just send me a tape every week. We'll give you a few spots. Everything was like a trade, which you don't see anymore. So it was
a whole different business. Boy,
Danny, tell the story about David Woods and sending the tapes and messing that up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was just that he decided that he didn't want to pay for the FedEx. That's what I remember.
I don't remember. Because now, God, I haven't heard David Woods' name in a long time.
Yeah, I always seem to remember when we talked. No, I always seem to remember when we talked about it that either it was a situation where they weren't used to working with a larger network. I mean, and they just sometimes would just not get it out in time, or as like Bix was saying, they didn't want to pay for the FedEx, which was kind of the hint that this group was in trouble already when they they started doing that.
No, you're absolutely right. And the tapes used to come on 3/4, and they would come with a piece of paper inside, basically a rundown. You know what match was on there and when the commercial break goes. It was you would never see anything even like that. It was amazing you'd see anything like that then. And that is right. You are right. I used to give them our FedEx number, and either they couldn't get down to FedEx because no one could drive it, or there was always some weird reason that made no sense not to get your tape to a national show so your show would air. And then there were times we had to air last week's show when we weren't supposed to because of them not being able to get the tape out in time. So that was a little weird.
Now, no, wait a second, though. So you're saying that they were actually sending it and it was being charged to FNM's account. So is that what you're saying?
Oh, I believe so. I don't know if he would have made them.
So it's not even that he didn't want to pay for it, it's just that they were lazy.
I think lazy, or just even the reasons that I kind of remember, like, we just don't have anyone to get there in time.
Yeah, and Danny
or
didn't.
The person who's supposed to, yeah.
I think that had a lot to do with it. They just, here they were, they weren't dealing with a local station; they were dealing with the network, and they had to hit certain times. But also, I believe we had discussed this, and again, it's a long time ago. Wasn't there also, because 3/4 inch tape wasn't cheap? Wasn't there some balking on their behalf of sending and buying the extra tape?
Yeah, I think they always wanted us to pay for it, and I believe Arnie was like, no. The head of F&M was like, what's so hard about them sending a 3/4 tape? And it always seemed to be a big deal every week. So, in hindsight, I don't know why it would have ever been a problem for anything, considering we were giving them national exposure basically for free, and commercial spots in the show where they were selling, I think, posters or T-shirts or videos or whatever they were doing. We even let them sell those on the show, which we didn't have to. So.
Including the infamous Jeff Jarrett poster on the Memphis shows.
I think they did used to sell those, didn't they?
Yes, they did. I remember that.
Yeah, because if you look at those old Observers, they talk about how, I guess because they were airing it locally too, about how Jarrett went from being, very over as one of the top baby faces to big backlash just over that ad.
Yeah, I think if you offered Jeff Jarrett posters on TNA today, you'd probably sell just as many as they did on FNN.
I remember him being a skinny little kid hanging around in the back, and I remember some of the guys. I remember again when I think he was wrestling under, I think it was Cactus Jack Manson.
Yeah,
and there was Foley was this literally like a kid hanging out in the locker room all the time, just hoping to get into some kind of match.
Dan, tell the story about your run-in with Brickhouse Brown.
Oh, he was the only one I think that actually didn't really like me. He was doing a thing with Robert Fuller, and they had a thing called the Stud Stable. And they got away with some weird stuff down there on their local shows you would never see on TV now.
I remember the early '80s Memphis. That even the baby faces would say some very racist stuff, and I was like, how did they get away with this? It was. Yikes. They did an angle where Robert Fuller came out with Christmas gifts for the Stud Stable, and they called Brickhouse Brown out, and they gave him a watermelon and a shower cap. And I remember doing some interviews with him and asking him about it, and he actually really got mad at me because I brought it up, and I thought he was going to hit me. It was one of those days, remember, Dan, when Sabu chased me out of the ring?
Right.
And I really ran for my life because I actually didn't know what he would really do.
Well, I saw the Brickhouse Brown interview because you had told me about it, and what you actually did is that he used to do a dance in the ring or whatever.
Yeah.
You remember that? Yeah. And you asked him a question.
Patch.
Yeah, you asked him a question.
Patch.
But what was very funny was Danny said, what's this little cocky dance you do? And this look that Brickhouse Brown shot Danny, I wish I had a still frame of that. Because I swear to God, I thought, if Danny had told me, I would have thought he would have decked him right there on TV.
Yeah, I remember it was called the Cabbage Patch. That's what he called it.
Oh Lord.
No, but those were great. There was a lot of good talent back then. I remember Uncle Elmer wrestling down there then.
Yeah,
when he
the
was Flyboy Frazier.
Yep.
Hey, Danny, did when you were sitting there with Lance Russell, did Lance ever offer you a tip or anything, or is he just kind of like let you go ahead and do? Because what they used to do was you did the FNN score match of the week, and it was usually Lance, and then you sat in representing FNN. Did he ever give you any kind of tips, or what was it like to work with him?
No, he real nice guy. He took me to Arkansas. I'd spend sometimes the day with him when I would literally fly in Monday, hang out, part of the day, and then fly back to get to work on Tuesdays. And Lance sometimes would pick me up at the airport and take me around to Beale Street in Memphis or to get ribs, or he took me into Arkansas. He was really a nice, very nice guy. As far as interviews, I don't think he ever helped me. I think Lawler helped me more or less with interviews. And then when I would sit ringside with him, I don't really remember him helping me in any way. I really just kind of sat in and was more like a color commentator. I would never step on him because he was the play-by-play, and I would just sort of chime in. But I don't really remember him ever helping me out.
He just kind of let you be yourself, then. He just kind of let you be yourself.
He was a really cool guy, but he never, I think he never, I don't remember ever getting mad at me.
You said that Lawler helped you. How did Lawler help you?
Basically, how to ask questions and direct questions and lead to get answers and to talk to the wrestler before to help to go over what you're going to ask them. I mean, he kind of more or less showed me the ropes because that was kind of the first time I'd ever done it. And, as you know, in wrestling, not everyone can do an interview. And, but doing Roller Jam all those years, and that's all I did on Roller Jam was interview skaters, and there was a lot of skaters we always wanted to push. And because they couldn't put two sentences together, we couldn't push them. Because as you know, in wrestling and roller, if you really can't do a good interview, you're in the pack.
Yes, definitely. You're not going to be the jammer.
Danny, how did you get involved with the roller derby, which you're still doing to this day?
Yeah, I just did a huge. We just did a roller derby game in Laughlin, Nevada last Saturday night, and it's ironic. Ms. Georgia Haas and her Devils were the white shirt or the face team.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was funny. I thought Georgia had a very hard time trying to be white, and even came to the rail because she always yells at me and offers me her glasses, and she started doing it, and I pulled the mic away and said, you're white, you can't do that. And she's like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
For the white
wrestling folk who are listening, the white shirts are the baby faces in roller derby, and the red shirts are the heels. Am I remembering that correct?
That is correct. So,
and the funniest thing about Georgia not feeling comfortable playing the white shirt is, I remember seeing her on TV when I was a kid, and I said, she looks like she's like a really, really mean woman. And when you meet her in person, what a sweetheart.
Oh, she's one of the nicest ladies. I mean, Dan knows because we talked L.A. T-Birds growing up, and Dan is this big roller derby fan, and he got at least to see the Richard Brown and the Philadelphia Warriors and the Baltimore Cats and those great teams back east. But I grew up watching the L.A. T-Birds religiously, and that was my dream my whole life was to announce roller derby. That's all I ever wanted to do, and I was hanging out like at Hollywood Park Racetrack. There was John Hall was always out there, and Sam the Man Washington, and Ralphie Valadares, and I just hung out with them and became friends with them. And the T-Birds at this time had kind of gone away, and there was really no roller derby. And then they were putting a league together, and I said, can I be the announcer? And, figuring maybe Jim McInerney, who was the announcer, wouldn't be doing it. And they're like, sure, why don't you come? You can, when we have training, you can come call our training. And that was it. I just kind of inherited doing it. I didn't have to audition. I didn't have to go through any steps. It kind of just fell in my lap. And then I still do all those, San Francisco Bay Bomber games to this day, and I still do the LA Firebird games.
Well, that's one of the things. When I've seen you at the games, when Fredo and I have gone to the games in Pomona, or when I went up with you in Sparrow, when they see you, you're like family to them. I mean, you're totally part of the roller derby. That's so cool.
So I've been doing. It's sort of funny. I kind of have to do all the leagues because there's no one else that does play-by-play. So that's why I do the two different leagues, the Firebird League down here and the San Francisco Bay Bombers up there, because there's really no one else that announces roller derby.
That's true, and it's really cool because it's really clear that you have a passion for it. Because there's no consistent league going on a weekly basis like it was in the 70s, but you're still up to making the trip up there, and
trust me, I must love it because I lose every. I could tell you I get paid $25 to call basically a 2.5-hour game live in house, and what it's costing me in a hotel room or gas or my time is it's costing me hundreds every time I do a game, but I don't mind because I love doing it.
One of the things I really enjoy about hearing you doing the commentating is if somebody is a novice roller derby fan, never been, I love how you just, in a nutshell, go over the rules, but in a way a layperson can just say, oh, okay, so that's how it works.
Well, you have to. I mean, sort of what hurt Roller Jam, and we did 4 seasons on CNN at the time, is you can't confuse people, and especially kids who turn the channel to you or watch roller derby for the first time do not want to be confused and do not want to hear a lot of rules. So you try to keep it very simple and just tell the fans what they need to know to follow the game. Roller Jam got a little bit too convoluted at times, but when I do the games, I constantly tell the people in-house when I'm calling the games over the PA how you score points and who the jammers are and why they're scoring. I try to kind of educate them simply so they come back because, especially with television, there's 8,000 channels now, and if somebody turns and watches roller derby and it seems like you can't get the rules, they're just going to turn the channel and they'll never come back.
Yeah.
And, I won't get into the all-girl league, which, there's so many all-girl leagues and teams all over the place, and I really am not I shouldn't say I'm not a fan of it because at least they're doing something, but, to me that'll never be roller derby, and I cringe when people say, hey, you announced roller derby? Yeah, we're going to the Derby Dolls game in L.A. this weekend. You be announcing. And I'm like, no, I actually don't do that. And I always say, no, I actually do the real roller derby. You know it.
Well, maybe it's just because I'm old, but I have no interest. I've tried watching a few of on YouTube. I must say I haven't given the new wave of roller derby a fair chance, but I really don't have a big interest in learning about it. I just love old school roller derby.
I presume you mean that Derby Dolls is one of the shoot roller derby groups then?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. A lot of them are shoot groups, and part of doing. I went to a Derby Doll game, and because these are more or less shoot games that aren't, set or scripted. The game was 72-14. It wasn't excited. It was totally one-sided. There was no storyline going on. There was rock music going on in the next room, and it was tattoo artists. Everyone's getting drunk. It was like going to a rave, and kids weren't allowed to go.
And it was half the fun, having families go and get into it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can't do it for kids because you're serving alcohol, and it really was like going to a rave. And if you're going to do these as shoots or do these roller derby games legit, like a lot of the girls do, the games aren't interesting because they're complete blowouts most of the time. And you're not working in a good soap opera or a storyline you can follow through the game and then have a great blow-off at the end. Similar to like wrestling. So I've always said I think the all-girl leagues are a fad, and I believe they'll go away at some point. But I really don't have much interest in that.
Do you ever foresee somebody trying to bring roller derby back on a big scale, or do you think?
Oh, I will. No, I'm going to one day.
In fact. Okay. I love this. Tell me your fantasy of where you'd like to promote the ultimate roller derby show.
Well, Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
That's the ultimate, and I would rent the building and give tickets away for free, just to get 18,000 people in there.
Now, see, this is the kind of guy I like, people. I hear people discuss like what wrestling should be, and no, that won't work because it won't be profitable, yada yada. I dig wrestling for ambience. If I was going to promote it because I am filthy rich, which I am not, I would do it for sheer ambience. I wouldn't give a rat's ass about making money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, roller derby, roller derby and wrestling have always been, it's like when roller derby was big, wrestling was a little low, like kind of a roller coaster or a mountain. roller derby has not been in that mountain since the 70s, and it's a very hard sell, and I've been with a lot of different roller derby groups in the last 20 years that have tried to get on TV, and unless you're going to really get a lot of money, it's got to be done like a Vince McMahon. You got to get someone with a lot of money, and it's their only life, and they get sponsors, and they have a training school, and they really do it right. The problem with Roller Jam is TNN was great, and the game looked great, but it was run by two television producers that ran other shows on other networks like Discovery Channel and TLC and Animal Planet. And when Vince McMahon left USA Network to come on Spike, and we were on Spike, we got the axe immediately because McMahon didn't want to be on the same network as us. And the two guys that ran Roller Jam basically just looked at it as, our show got canceled. And they didn't make any effort to go to USA or go to another network to do whatever they could to keep it going, and which could have, to this day, still been going. They just looked at it as, our show got canceled. So,
wow. Just like easy come, easy go. You need somebody who wants to hang on to it for dear life.
Exactly. It's got to be done like by a McMahon type where it is their life, and everything in their life is put into making this last and work, and getting sponsorship and advertisers and getting on a network and doing a weekly show. And you can't nickel and dime it. And the problem with roller derby since Roller Jam left about 9 years ago is there are all these little, basically, shows that do, we do draw, 2,000 to 3,000 in San Francisco, but we're not on all the time. We're on a little independent network, and we're on for a few weeks, and then we're not on for 2 months. So the fans don't know when we're on. And then we do games for 3 straight weeks, and we don't go back for 2 months. If you're not constant like it was when we grew up, like Dan the T-Birds were every Saturday night at the Olympic. You knew where they were. You can't do games every now and then, and you can't put them on TV every now and then, because how are you going to build an audience?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Unless you're on.
Danny, are there enough younger guys and women coming into roller derby to make it? Because I know for the longest time, whenever there be a game, you saw a lot of the old school skaters, and that was great, but they're all getting a lot older now. Is there enough of these guys coming in that the roller derby would be able to survive?
Yes, we do have a lot of great young skaters, especially on the San Francisco Bay Bombers, and a lot of girls from the all-girl league have been coming into our league and training and getting on teams. Now, we have 5 teams, so there are a lot of really good young skaters. The problem is if you don't have a training center open, normal hours, 5 or 6 days a week, and you're on TV for young people to see, hey, I can be on TV, it's hard to get a lot of people. It's hard to get a lot of young people because we're not on television all the time, and training centers kind of open and they close 3 months later, and then they put another one up, and a bunch of young, great 18 to 21-year-olds skate, and we put them on some teams, and then the training center closes. It's too haphazard. And
you need, like you're saying with the fans, you need consistency with the participants too.
Yeah, if you're going to open a training center, have it open all the time and get on TV weekly, and then kids will watch it on TV and say, hey, I want to be a skater like it used to be. And Dan, we still have some of the old Spain skaters.
Well, I was going to ask you, who's still left that's still skating at this point?
We did a game in Sacramento 3 weeks ago at the Memorial Auditorium, which is a great building, and we still have skaters who skated in the 60s and 70s on the T-Birds. And the 80s, we have Patsy Delgado, Ray Robles, Tony Trujillo,
Tony Trujillo, who is a really charismatic heel.
Yeah, he's really good still, but he used to be on the T-Birds. We have Gina Valadares, Dave Martinez. We've got Larry Lewis, Skinny Mini Gwen Miller, Sam Washington. These
are guys that were there. Yeah, they were there in the 70s, and they're still skating at this point.
Believe it or not,
some of them quite
great.
well. Some of them with a lot of energy for their age, which is impressive.
Dan, you know Richard Brown because you remember saw him back east. And Curt, you've seen him at some of the games you've gone in the last year. He's still on the Bay Bombers, and you know what? He hasn't lost a step.
That's amazing because I saw him in Baltimore in 72 and 73.
He is just as good now as he was then. He'll still be bummed.
Wow.
He'll fly over the rail. He'll jam with anyone young. He's still amazing.
Yeah, energy-wise, I never got to see Ann Calvello, but with the way people describe her, it sounds like he has that same fountain of youth inside him that just keeps going.
You got to remember something about the roller derby. I'll just say one thing about roller derby is there's a place for everyone: fast, small, skinny, old, young. If you can do it. Earlene Brown skated on the T-Birds, had number 747.
I remember Earlene Brown very well. She was awesome.
She could do it. And roller derby is one of the very few sports. It doesn't matter how old or how young or how tall, skinny. If you can get out there and do it, there's sort of a place for you on a team. Even if you're a little gimmicky, there's still a spot for you. So, but if you, like Dan was saying, if you really want to make it go and make a big run in the future, you must have a lot more young, fast, good skaters like.
Yeah. In fact, two skaters that you have a much keener eye for what a good worker in the roller derby is than I do. But there were two younger skaters the last time I was with you at Kezar. Chris Run Eldridge, and I think the other guy's name was Sam Franco.
Yeah, and they're very good young. I mean, these kids are 18, 19 years old, and they fly around the track, and they're fearless. And they'll fly over they'll take rails, and there's a lot of good young skaters. I'll tell you something funny. Last Saturday we had the game in Laughlin, and we had a scrimmage the night before. They had the track set up, and we were using a different track. And usually the rails are 4x4s and then covered with padding. Well, unfortunately, this track the rails were 2x4s. And during the scrimmage, Ashley Schuler, who's one of the very good young skaters, took a rail and snapped the rail in half and smashed her head in the rail. And the pool of blood was something I've not seen in my life. And,
oh, my Lord.
Yeah. She got 12 stitches and couldn't skate the next night in case she took an elbow. They didn't want the stitches to open up. But
well, yeah.
That was... I haven't seen that much blood since Stefan DeLeon and Tim Talltree.
Tim Talltree, 1990.
That's
the Club Lingerie.
I'll never forget that because I did not see the match between Talltree and Stefan, but I can't remember why I wasn't able to go, but I remember at 1 in the morning, the phone rings, and I'm going, wait, who's calling at 1 in the morning? And it was Pat Hood, and he's going, dude, this is just so weird. He said, I just got to tell somebody about this. And he talked about Stefan gigging that night and hitting an artery, and just people were sprayed with blood in the front row. In fact, Dan, does Mary Lou still have blood on her purse or something like that?
Well, yeah, she obviously doesn't have that purse anymore. But, at one point she did. And the thing was, I invited, it's one of the things where I invited some friends who weren't wrestling fans to come to that show, of course, and they never watched wrestling again after that because it was a pretty frightening situation. Stefan, got busted open, and for the longest time, I don't know if the videotape still exists, but it was the most surreal thing in the world because everybody's laughing, having a good time, and all of a sudden, little by little, it starts to roll over everybody that this is a problem, something bad has happened. Because and when Stefan would lean over, it was like turning on a faucet. It would just run like it was
every breath he took.
And you hear
every
people
breath he took, it would squirt out of his forehead.
And you would hear people like start to screaming, "Stop the match! Stop the match!" And this was a match where it was Johnny's Legend's stipulation on this was the loser was going to kiss the winner's ass, and there was no DQ, no stopping for anything. Well, and I turned to Johnny at one point and said, "We may have to stop this." And he was like, "No, we got to keep going." Well, luckily, Stefan was enough of a pro, and so was Tim Talltree was in there with him. They went to the finish really quick, and they did it, and they got out. But I never forgot that because the people that ran the place freaked out, and they called 911, and and they came to take care of Stefan, and I never forget. The cop came up to me and he said, "Well, what happened?" I said, "Well, the guy was wrestling. He got busted open," and the cop said, "So he cut himself." And I thought, of all the cops in the world, I get a cop that breaks kayfabe. It was like that point. But that was truly one of the scariest things that I had ever seen to this day still. And I hope I never see anything like that again. Oof.
I'll never forget Pat. Like I said, Pat called me at 1 in the morning, but then the following morning, you called me. At least 3 other people called me saying, I can't believe what I saw last night.
Yeah.
I was sitting ringside, and I was dry heaving. That's how gross it was. Stephen had long hair because the blood covered his face so thick, and his hair, he would have to, shake his head to get the hair out of his eyes. So when he would basically swing his hair back, the first 3 rows literally got sprayed with his blood.
Wow.
And a lot of it.
And that was such a
weird that was the first and last show we ever did there, I believe, too.
Yeah, Club Lingerie, wasn't it?
And it was very weird anyway, because we went in on was it a Sunday night? I think it was. Actually,
I think it was.
Which was a rough night, because we had done the first show on a Saturday night. And
in fact, wasn't it the night before that?
Excuse me?
Wasn't it the night before that? Wasn't it 2 shows in a row, if I remember right?
No, there was one show in January. This was the February show.
Okay.
In January,
it was a Sunday. You're right.
Yeah, and this place was a smaller place, and we didn't draw very well at all. And it was one of those things where Konnan was coming up with Rey Mysterio Jr., who we had to have him keep the mask on because he was underage to go in a bar, and a bunch of workers from TJ, and they were a good percentage of the show, and it looked like at one point he wasn't going to make it. They were either in traffic or having problems or whatever, so we were going to be horrendously short. That was the first night that Jason Hervey ever got involved in a professional wrestling show. They had him interfere in a match.
Yeah.
So you had all this stuff going on. You had Chavo and Mondo Guerrero there, and it was just one of this surreal nights all the way around that I still remember.
You remember, Dan, why Konnan's match went out into Sunset Boulevard?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's great. Konnan actually had to leave and to go someplace. So he was fighting. Was it Tall Tree or was it Chavo or somebody?
No, I think he had a flight at LAX to get to Japan.
Yeah, he had a flight to. So they fought up the aisle, outside, into the streets. A car pulls up, the door opens, Konnan jumps in and drives away.
Oh my God! Oh, it's a shame that wasn't on tape.
Yeah,
how ahead of his time was he?
Yeah, exactly.
Think about the Sunset Strip, and all of a sudden you see 2 wrestlers fighting on the sidewalk on the Sunset Strip, and the fans coming out of the building. Yeah, and a wrestler jumping in a car and leaving.
That's why I love Southern California, baby.
That's when Konnan had his mask still. So I mean, that was just one of those. Yeah, exactly.
Now, straying back into roller derby for a sec.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody who grew up watching derby, every guy, whether they admit it or not, had a mad crush on one roller derby starlet. My personal one in 1972 was Honey Sanchez.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ralphie Valadares. You scared me for a second.
No, I don't like short men. No, my big crush was Honey Sanchez. Both Dans, who were your crushes?
You first, Dan.
Oh, I'm gonna say Patsy Delgado.
Oh, she's cute, yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, it was one of those things where, and she started at 16 or 17, right, Danny? So
yeah, she started, definitely that young, around I would say 1978, 79. And by the way, she skated last week in Laughlin and did an amazing job and looked better than ever.
Oh, I'm sure of that. I have a picture that we took at one of the shows we went to like 20 years ago, and it was just, the woman could have been a model. She's that stunning. She really and truly is.
She still looks good, and she can still skate. And I would say, Dan, Patsy was really cute. There was something about Debbie Helden, and I don't know what it was, but she was very cute in a very weird way.
Yeah, and Debbie Helden was married to John Hall.
Yes.
For a while, and when they divorced, was that the end of her career? Or?
Yeah, I think she lives in Philadelphia now. But yeah, that was basically, she was off the T-Birds probably by around 79 or 80.
Yeah, because she was married to John Hall, who was the manager, and then it was always funny because they tried sometimes once in a while when I was living on the East Coast to. The East Coast teams would tour, and they would, they would have a match where Elmer Anderson was the Warriors, and the Philadelphia Warriors were syndicated in first, and then it became so popular in Baltimore that they decided to put together a team, and they called it the Baltimore Washington Warcats. And what they did was they went out and got all the great redshirt managers from back there, guys like Ken Monty and Jess Adams and Richard Quarles and these guys, and they signed them all. And then it would be really funny because once in a while, like they would tape a show in another arena, like say in Madison Square Garden, and then when they would show that in Baltimore, you'd be looking at it and you go, gee, why are the Warcats acting so heelish? Why are they being, doing all this stuff? And then you started to realize after a while that what they were doing was they were being red shirts in that town, and the announcer who was doing the voiceover was trying to say, well, last week the other team cheated, and this is why the Warcats are mad, and they're gonna fight fire with fire tonight. That kind of
In fact, you want to hear something funny, Dan? I remember that because they did a taping where, yes, like you said, they taped there, and the T-Birds were skating, but Bill Hoppy Hopped was interviewing the local Baltimore fans, saying, I can't believe you hate the T-Birds, and the fans would get out and saying, yeah, they're really lame, they're nothing, and Bill Hoppy Hop would be saying to the Southern California crowd, can you believe it? These fans are so mean. It was awesome.
Well, it was funny because the T-Birds would go into Madison Square Garden as a white shirt team because they were sort of America's team because people knew them from TV. And there was a time when the LA T-Birds went to Madison Square Garden and skating into the New York Bombers, and New York was the red shirt team.
Yeah.
Very cool. Basically America's team.
Hey, Danny, we gotta bring this up at some point, but since we're all veterans here of incredibly strange wrestling, do you have any particular memory that sticks out to you after all these years?
Well, I did. Yes, I have so many. You know that I did win the under the top rope battle. I won the over the top.
That's right. You won. It was the under the bottom rope battle royal. You could not be eliminated unless you were shoved under the bottom rope.
And I got knocked out very early on.
Oh, so it's like
and ironically, everyone ignored me, and I laid somewhere in the ring. And when I came to, I was the last one in there, and I think Dan raised my arm, and I actually won a battle royal.
You won the battle royal, yes. Yes, I remember. Lucky Pierre was the last man in, and he went to start unbuttoning your pants instead of shoving you under the bottom rope. And your valet, hardly available, a hot little blonde named Shari Becker, came in and started flaunting her tatas in my face, and I was so horrified I scrambled under the bottom rope and was eliminated.
That was a wild battle royal because I remember. Well, it was interesting for a couple reasons. It was at one of the Fangoria horror conventions, and we did the battle royal. I wound up being in the battle royal, and there are also some of the XPW guys who were just there visiting, Supreme and Chaos, GQ Money, actually wanted to jump in and also do it. But what I remember very strange about that whole evening is that was the evening that I can't think of her name now. Lana Clarkson was killed by her lover, Mr. Spector, and she was at that convention that day, and she was killed that night when she returned.
Oh, it was that very night?
Yes.
Wow. I did not know that. I knew about her being at the convention that day, but I didn't realize.
Yeah, it was that very night.
I didn't know she was a well enough known B-movie actress to be at a convention like that.
Well, a lot of the conventions, if you're a B-movie actor, you're actually in high demand.
Well, I know that. I just didn't know that she was actually that much of a B-movie actor. I always thought that when she was referred to as B-movie actress, that it was sort of a way of just glamorizing her.
No, she had done a bunch of cult type stuff, and that's and it's so funny because it doesn't take a lot to be a cult figure. I mean, I have a good friend of mine.
There's hope for me.
What?
There's hope for me.
Oh, be quiet. You talked enough the last 2 nights. No. But no, a good friend of mine had a small part in Donnie Darko, and she actually goes to conventions. and people recognize her and ask her to sign. So it doesn't take a lot. I mean, you know how fans are. You know how wrestling fans are. So it doesn't take a lot.
That's true.
Well, in fact, one of the things that Bix, you and I talked about in great detail was that film Sleepaway Camp. And the gal in that, she's been in other stuff since then, but she's on call for those conventions just for that role in Sleepaway Camp, which one of the things I love about people who follow B movies, I think that's really cool that they see some role that just a small following of people attached to it and dig them and demand them for the conventions.
Yeah.
It's been ages since I've gone to one of those cons. I love those.
My sister dressed as Angela for Dragon Con a couple weeks ago.
I'm sorry, Vic,
my
what's
sister
that?
dressed as the Angela character from Sleepaway Camp at Dragon Con a couple weeks ago.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
See, I'm waiting for people to show up at conventions dressed like the masked referee from the Secrets of Pro Wrestling Exposed.
or the masked timekeeper, or the masked announcer.
That was great.
Right.
Danny was in that too. Do you remember that? That was hysterical because Danny is the one that brought me into that show, and they used him as the announcer, and they gave him this mask, and we joked about it still. We kept saying he looked more like Darkwing Duck than he did anything else. He had this full Zorro mask on.
I loved it. I kept on thinking, the Zorro was the first thing I thought of when I saw him. And there was that unmistakable Danny Wolf grin.
No, we got there, and they go to the wardrobe, and every wrestler had their whatever they had on hangers and stuff. And they go, your hanger's over there, and all that was on my hanger was a little tiny Zorro mask, and that was it. I'm like, this is it.
Oh, man. That was too bad I wasn't there. I would have had all the gear I bring for Incredibly Strange Wrestling each time. It would have been a bonanza.
But, Dan, see, I didn't get on the poster, though, or on the box of the tape.
And that was a last-minute thing, because the woman who was doing it says, hey, jump in there real quick. And I said, oh, okay. And I mentioned this earlier, Danny, on earlier shows. I still occasionally have somebody walk up to me and ask me to sign that box.
Oh, that's funny.
After all these years,
and
it was weird because even after for a couple of years after the show aired, nobody saw that thing. They ran it twice and nobody saw it. But I would have wrestling fans as I would walk past them at ringside say, "I saw you on TV." I would tell you on TV. So it's always funny how those that was an interesting process, Danny, altogether, wasn't it, that show?
Yeah, I don't even know how that NBC. Well, wrestling was so big at the time, but that NBC. Yeah. Well, we shot all that at the Olympic Auditorium, but NBC ended up airing it on like a Sunday night at 6 or 7 o'clock.
I believe they actually aired it opposite Survivor Series.
Really?
They really did. They aired it opposite 60 Minutes, which was a real bad idea.
Yeah, it was on a Sunday and it wasn't prime time.
Yeah. But that was... I just laughed because you remember how it was anything that we told these people how to do it automatically became bigger. So like when they did the thing where Danny was passing that, it's like, 2 minutes to go or whatever, they made it look like it was the biggest looking, most obvious thing in the entire world.
Yeah. Because they had to get something visual.
Yeah, they had
when it really isn't that visual. Yeah,
do you remember when they told us about the stunt granny? We looked at each other and said, "Where the hell did that come from?"
Oh, he was great.
I remember when I saw the show saying, "Wait a minute, I never saw a fan planted in the ring like that."
That was funny. No, I do remember that.
One of the funny things you were talking about, the visual for letting you know how much time passed, the most obvious example I ever saw with that, and this is why, to this day, even though people deny it, I think Mike Liddell was trying to run the promotion in the ground purposely, but Art Williams would be sitting at ringside as the timekeeper, and when 5 minutes would pass, he would slam both hands on the mat really hard and hold up his 5 fingers. Wow! Yeah, I'm serious. There would be clues when it was time to go home, and, the fans knew the drill. The fans who were there, the fans that all the wrestlers laughed at and thought were really stupid, if they tried to put a wrestler under a mask who they used previously without one, by the time he walked into the ring, they said, "Hey, look, there's Mickey Doyle with a mask," or, "Hey, that's Apollo Jalisco as El Medico."
Yeah.
That reminds me of a great story from Bret Hart's book that is like, I think it was like after Bret made that first trip to Puerto Rico to start his career, he comes back home to get started in Stampede. I may have the time frame wrong, but anyway, and I forget who was booking, but if the territory's not doing well, and I think it's like, and there's like this one match, it's Ron Cope against someone, like Mike York or something, and it's just a terrible match. The fans
oh my God, I can only imagine those two working together.
The fans are screaming, it's like, dude, what is this shit? And Stu walks over to the ring and starts screaming, "Go home!" while banging his hands on the mat.
In fact, I do remember that. That reminds me of another L.A. Happening where they were having a battle royal at the sports arena, and Tim Talltree is in the battle royal, and that was when his father, Tom Ernesto, was booking. And I remember just at some point, Ernesto walks into the ring and says, "Damn it, Tim, it's time to get out of there. Come on, get out." And a few seconds later, Tim Talltree went over the top rope and was out.
You know, Danny was very nice to cast me in a movie called National Lampoon's Lost Reality 2. And isn't that the movie where Chelsea Handler's sidekick Chewie was like his debut?
Yeah.
Tell them what you had him doing in that movie, Danny.
But Lost Reality, it's actually Lost. They're on DVDs, or you can get them on Netflix or wherever. They made Lost Reality 2 because there were too many answers left after Lost Reality 1. Oh, wait. No. we need more of the Amazing Races.
Yes.
What happened was they were supposedly these vignettes of reality TV pilots that were so bad that no network would air them, and National Lampoon found them all in a box and put them together. And it was sort of in the vein of like the Groove Tube or Kentucky Fried Movie. So there were like these 5-minute segments of bad pilots. Well, of course, we shot them all, a friend of mine and I. So we did things like The Amazing Racist, and we did... the thing we did with Chewie was, I think it was a segment called Money, where what would people on the street do for money? And what we had with Chewie was someone eat a hot dog out of his butt.
Oh, wonderful.
Hair to floss their teeth. We had them do really foul things on Van Nuys Boulevard, but
like a lewd version of the Magic Christian.
We have some. Those things are really fun to watch now, and we had Ron Jeremy in there, and Rip Taylor. We had some celebrities, and they were just these really bad, 5 to 10 minute, horrible, reality TV quote unquote pilots that never made it. And
well, in the segment that you had me in, it was a takeoff on American Gladiators, where the gladiators would have to compete against a group of little people who were gladiators.
we had, and it was fun. Dan was the referee, and we had like the slam dunk contest with a springboard, and it was a normal high basket. So of course the gladiators, who were the little people, only got up. They were basically 12 feet from making the slam dunk, but they kept trying, and Dan would blow the whistle and go, "Nope, no good." And then they did tackle football, and they did jousting, and all this. It was very funny, actually, Dan. That was
that's too funny.
Oh, I remember what I liked about it was you gave me the freedom to ad lib, and the way I started doing it after a while was it was so obvious these guys weren't going to be able to do anything. Like they would go to jump, and I would blow the whistle and go, "No good, not even close."
Yeah,
like that kind of stuff.
It was very funny.
That is too cool.
Those were good.
Well, I must wind this up now. As usual on every other Thursday night, it's time for me to do a huge load of laundry.
Fredo, are you still there?
I just got back now.
Oh, good.
She went out and did some shopping while we were chatting.
You're stealing my spot.
Yeah, he returned with some Wonder Bread, and before we go, there's just one other thing I want to share with Danny Wolf. You know somebody for years, and then you find out you have something in common. And I think one of the things, Danny, you and I have in common was we think that the greatest movie of the 1990s was Boogie Nights.
Oh, one of the best movies of all time, period.
Definitely. Forget P.T. Anderson's There Will Be Blood. Boogie Nights is where it's at.
And Mr. Dan Farren lived for a time very, very close to the country club, which in the movie was the club.
That's right. I remember years ago going to concerts there when it was what was the guy's name? Rissmiller or something like that?
Wolf and Rissmiller. They were promoters that were there, Wolf and Rissmiller. But no, that all was shot in Reseda, and I lived about a half a block from there, and they used the old Reseda Theater, which still sits dilapidated and locked up, as the opening logo, and then they crawled across to the country club, which I believe is a Korean church now. And
it's like the Olympic Auditorium.
Exactly.
Yeah, in fact, that's where they even did the initial UWF tapings. Was it there?
I remember that
too. They also down the street.
In fact, that's where you very first saw me, Dan. You saw me when I wrestled at the country club in '84.
That's right, when you were Jimmy Cyclone.
Yes, we didn't know each other. We didn't meet for another 5 years, but you did see me there.
And I always said they called you Jimmy Cyclone because you sucked. That was true. That was the main event was Irish Mickey Doyle versus Billy Anderson in a street fight match, and that was when Carl Lauer was still trying to keep the stuff going locally here after they closed down. But that whole area. If you still go to Reseda now, you'll still see the donut shop where something happened at the very end. Yeah, and also there's that alleyway there where something else happened bad to Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, is where he got gay bashed by the guy in the pickup?
Well, why don't you just tell the whole movie to everybody now, huh? No.
I'm good at that.
Spoiler alert, huh? Come on, find out.
Who would be listening to this that had never seen Boogie Nights that wanted to?
One of the greatest movies ever made.
Easily.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to look at a cast, you're talking from Burt Reynolds to John C. Reilly to Philip Seymour Hoffman to Julianne Moore to Mark Wahlberg to Don Cheadle and on. I mean, there's not been a movie since that movie was
William H. Macy?
Yeah, William H. Macy.
William H. Macy, Ricky I mean, you can go
Philip Baker Hall.
Philip Baker Hall, Heather Graham. That might be the best ensemble cast of a movie maybe ever.
Nina Hartley.
That's right. Nina Hartley actually had a speaking role in that one.
Yep. So one of the best. And how about Alfred Molina?
That's right.
That's right.
He did it was kind of like the spin-off on Eddie Nash, the guy who had the run-in with John Holmes.
John Holmes. In fact, actually, I really recommend if you even if you haven't seen it for a while, pick it up and take a look at the DVD version because they have an entire sequence that was cut out, which is the end of the scene with Alfred Molina in there, involving a helicopter, and it's really pretty amazing. And I wish they had kind of included it in the movie, but it's really worth seeing.
Yeah, Alfred Molina was amazing in that movie.
He was really good. That was so. Yeah. Recommended to everybody out there who hasn't seen it. You're missing probably one of the most important films centering around Americana.
Easily.
Based on that performance, who Alfred Molina could probably play better than anyone else?
Who's that?
Antonio Pena.
Oh, that would be awesome. He could do the De Niro Raging Bull where he puts on weight to play Pena. I would love that. Oh, my God, that's money. Okay.
You know what? If I'm correct, you know what Alfred Molina's film debut is, don't you? It's Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, he's the guy in the beginning. Throw me the idol, throw me the whip.
Oh, that was him
in the very beginning. Yeah.
Wow.
If you're going to have a debut, that's the way to do it.
That's very true.
I think we left out one of the ensemble cast members. What's the name? Philip Seymour Hoffman. I don't think any of us.
Oh my God, he was great.
No, I said Philip Seymour.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. He was awesome as Scotty in that.
Wait, Robert Downey Sr. is in it. I'm looking at
Robert Downey Sr. Yep.
That's right.
He played the record producer, and then the engineer in that scene was Michael Penn.
That's right. That's my problem. That's your problem, not my problem.
Yep. Very good.
Oh, Lord. Well, oh, man. Thank you, Danny, for hanging with us here. We've wanted you on for a long time, and could we get you on again sometime? Because I know we could easily go another hour.
Absolutely, very easily. It's almost midnight here, and I'll be on Maury in about 10 hours, so I'm going to get some sleep.
Awesome.
We're just
Danny,
tomorrow.
Danny, what do you, besides the Paul Rodriguez series, is there anything else you're working on right now?
Actually, we sold another series with Paul Rodriguez, a talk show, similar to Bill Maher's Real Time on HBO, called Rodriguez Has Issues.
Great.
And that's on a network. It's another sort of bilingual network called C Television, S-I, like in Spanish, the word C, C Television. And then we have a show with Brett Butler, who was on Grace Under Fire. We're going to start shooting a reality series called Brett Under Fire, where she comes back to L.A. to try to get her career going again.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, I'm just stuffing them out with about 10 other pilots right now, so waiting to get word from VH1 and TLC and Discovery and those other stuff, always waiting.
Very cool, man. You're totally awesome. Met both you and Dan at San Bernardino Arena on the same day in 1989, and it's so awesome hanging with both of you. As well as Fredo is always awesome to hang with. And Dix, I hope one of these days we actually get to hang with you in person sometime.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, thank you everybody for joining in. I had a really good time tonight on Slammin' Stan. And remember, everybody, if you're ever wandering down a street in Southern California and you see a bright light shooting through the night skyline, it's not a shooting star. It is a heavenly handful of Moncel's powder.
Wow!
See you all in 2 weeks.